Hello and welcome back to Genesis Designs and Modelcraft, or should I say Tiger Tidings. Welcome to the 2025 Advent build, and this year, box roll please, it's the year of the Tiger Moth, one of my favourite aeroplanes, and here's what I'm doing. You've already seen the intro. It's the ICM kit with one-man army masks and a suite of CMK extras plus Edward photo etch seatbelts. But none of you are here for that, are you? You're all here for the snack reviews. I know. And I'm going to go super left field right from the off. The first snack review this year is not, in fact, traditional festive fare. So my sister just came back from a little holiday in Sharm el Sheikh in Egypt. It's horrible here in the UK. It's December now, isn't it? November, December. Winter's just kicking in. Last night I drove home from the gym in what can only be described as a rainstorm. It was thoroughly unpleasant. 20 minutes ago it was hailing here, and this afternoon it was bright sunshine. But it's never warm, and it's just nasty, honestly. And who can blame somebody for wanting a little bit of relief, a little bit of respite from that, a little bit of sunshine? And this is what my husband did. I went across to Egypt for the week, spent a bit of time on the beach, and she brought me back these. So I thought, well, I'm going to do snack reviews, why not? Start off with something I really haven't tried before. I've got absolutely no idea what they are, whether they'll be any good. I do have a nice cup of English Earl Grey tea to go with it. Champion. This is Miles, so if anyone ever wonders, the tea, I'm sure you don't, the tea that I drink is from Miles. They're a company based in Porlock in Devon, and their tea is wonderful, and it isn't actually all that expensive, but you do have to buy it online. So first off then, Egyptian Delight. It is guaranteed. What is guaranteed of? I don't know. Algazar Sweet Oriental Sweets. There's a comely female with an unfurry cat to invite you into eating this cashew Egyptian Delight. So let's see. I just have no idea what to expect here. I think it's like some form of Turkish delight, presumably. Not got the memo about excessive packaging over there yet. There we go. Okay, so it does look kind of Turkish delighty. I don't see much evidence. Oh, cashews are small, they're not big like they appear. So it's just jelly cubes. Smells of a factory. Tastes like honey. It's really rather nice, actually. You see, it's squishy but firm. Jelly baby consistency, for those of you who don't understand. Jelly babies complete with the slightly crusty exterior, which is nice, and it tastes like honey with a sort of a nutty undertone. Well, that's really quite pleasant. Okay, and the other one she brought back was this Al Ahmadi dates, 100% natural dates, hazelnut and chocolate. Sounds promising, and dates are indeed a traditional wintertime treat here in the UK, so I'm not too far off topic, I suppose. Let's have a sip of tea. Clear the old palette a little bit. Excuse the paint on the fingernail there. Okay. Ooh. Individually wrapped, darling. Right. bit of ASMR for you. I wonder if they're all the same. There seem to be two different types on the box, on the bag rather. Okay, there we go. Oh, compressor's on. Those look very much like a date with chocolate on it. It's got hazelnut cream on the inside. That is actually delicious. Really good. So I can tease you with that, knowing full well none of you can go out and get any. That's really nice. And not overly sweet like most confections are here in the UK and elsewhere. Very, very nice. Alright. Wow. Ooh, do you know what? I'm going to try another one. This one is a little different. It's got it's almost like partially Ferrero Rocher. Oh yeah. I may have to send her back for some more of these. These are absolutely lovely. Okay, well, with the massively off topic snacks out of the way, I guess we'd better get started on this kit. See what we make of it. Got a rogue seat there. So I won't be bothering with the bombs. So this is the DHH2A Tiger Moth with bombs edition. I'm not interested in the bombs, so they can go straight into storage. So the first thing I'm going to do, to completely ignore the instructions, get all these snacks out of the way. I snip the major parts off of all of these sprues. This isn't a complex kit, so it's not one that I'm concerned about getting parts mixed up too much. I have a strong feeling that that is distorted. I think that's probably meant to be a little flatter than that. There we go, just like that. We're down to one sprue. Almost finished and I've barely started. Okay, so the next thing I do after I remove all of these major parts is I clean them all up. So I'm going to have a massive sprue stuff removing session right now. And I suppose I may as well chat a little bit about tiger moths whilst I'm doing it. So long time viewers of the channel may be aware or may have seen, I did post a video a couple 3 years ago now, when I flew in a tiger moth. So here in the UK, and I'm quite sure it's the same elsewhere frankly, it's relatively easy to go flying in things like tiger moths. They're reasonably numerous. Quite a few of them still flying, and quite a lot of people willing or able to do passenger rides in them. And the occasion for me was a trip to Duxford, the Imperial War Museum at Duxford, and I was there meeting up with some fellow contributors from FX Model World magazine, which we do now and again, you know, maybe annually, biannually. A few of us will meet up somewhere, usually some sort of aircraft museum type setting, and just wander around and shoot the breeze, you know, hang out. And on this occasion, the Classic Wings people at Duxford were in full flow. So every, you know, half an hour or so you'd see a tiger take off and a repeat and another tiger. And we were sitting in the outside part of the main cafe up by the top hangar, and obviously I kept looking at these de Havillands because they're aeroplanes and I always look at aeroplanes, and one of the people I was with said, "Oh, you should go for a flight." So which I'm sort of like, well, yeah, I'd love to. I've always wanted to have a flight in a tiger moth. I'll get down there, see if you can get in. So I did, and they had a space, so I just, yeah, I thought, okay, I'll do it. And it was booked for later that afternoon, so carried on trundling about the place until the allotted time when I turned up and had a very basic safety briefing. I walked out onto the flight line, the aircraft flew in, dispatched, offloaded the previous passenger, sat there idling, and I climbed in and off we went. And my pilot on that occasion, as I know now, I didn't at the time, was Amanda Harrison. Now Amanda is a phenomenally inspirational woman. She's the same age as me, but she took the plunge and learned to be a pilot, which I did not do. Gained a commercial licence, and a tail dragger licence, and so on and so forth. And at some point she decided that what she would really very much like to do is fly a tiger moth to Australia to emulate or pay homage, however you would like to put it, or should I just say inspired by the antics of Amy Johnson back in the day, who flew a DH-60 to Australia. And the DH-60 being a sort of a slightly earlier version of the Moth. It was in fact just called the Moth. Very similar to the Tiger, but it had unswept wings, and I think the engine was the right way up in those as well. So Amanda gathered together the necessary things to do this. So she learnt to fly a Tiger. She acquired a Tiger Moth. She does have her own. Had some modifications carried out to the aircraft. It has a few things that most Tigers do not. It has brakes, for example. probably not very obvious, but tiger moths do not come with brakes, nor do they come with electrical systems. So things like radios do not exist in a tiger unless they're retrofitted. And even then, the aircraft doesn't have a charging system as it comes, so you can only use the radio or any other electrics you choose to fit for as long as your batteries last, unless you make more modifications. I don't know if there are any tigers around that actually have a charging system or not. But anyway, there was that, and also the aircraft was fitted with a long-range tank, fuel tank, which took up the space of a would-be front seat passenger, and then the front cockpit opening is fared over, sealing the tank inside. And she made a lot of preparations. Obviously there's a lot of planning involved in something like that, huge amount of planning. Anybody who flies will know how much planning goes into just short little journeys, so magnify that by many. And off she went, and she has actually written a book about her journey. Which unfortunately was ultimately unsuccessful on that occasion due to an engine failure. Now here is said book, Solo to Darwin by Amanda Harrison. There she is on the cover with her tiger, and her tiger has unfortunately become damaged in the meantime. She's in flight, and Amanda is currently trying to get the aircraft fixed and sort things out to have another go. And I do believe that, you know, fair season of following wind, she will make it, because she really is quite an incredible woman. And certainly anybody watching this, if you feel like potentially helping Amanda out, then buying this book would be a really good start. It's very well written. There she is. I digressed a bit, but there, that's who I flew with, and we had a lovely chat whilst I was flying with her. And in fact, one of the very out there things that happened while we were up was that Mr. Tom Cruise came on the radio. So it just so happened that at the period that I was visiting, he was flying out of Duxford, learning to operate Stearman biplanes for the Mission Impossible movie, the last one, which featured a fairly extended and very improbable stunt flying section with a couple of Stearmans, and he learnt to fly them at Duxford, and that's what he had been doing that day. I didn't know this at the time. I did notice the black Airbus helicopter on the pan, didn't realise that it belonged to Tom Cruise. And whilst we were holding on the runway, we were waiting for said helicopter, because it was running at the side of the grass area. We were given clearance and we took off, and the helicopter followed shortly after us. And it was then that the helicopter crewman radioed in, as you do, and then Mr. Tom Cruise jumped in on the radio and said something really film starish, like "thanks very much," and Amanda and I sat there being very starstruck indeed, going, "Was that actual Tom Cruise on the radio just then?" And of course it was. I do have a video of the flight. In fact, the vlog is the video of the flight, so you can hear our conversation. Well, you can sort of hear our conversation, and you can hear Mr. Tom Cruise pop in on the radio. And that was the first time I flew in a Tiger, and I absolutely loved it. There is no other way to put it than that, and just the trouble with doing things like that is if they live up to what you want them to, all that happens is you then have to do it again. So of course, as soon as I had done it, all that happened was I just wanted to do it again. And about 18 months or so after that initial flight, I did do it again, because I arranged for my daughter Ruth, for her 12th birthday. We went flying, and the allotted day came. We were supposed to be going up in a Tiger, and it was too windy and they weren't flying. But there was the opportunity on that day to go flying in a Cessna, and it was a 172, and Amanda took us up in one of the classic wings Cessnas, because they do normal flight training there as well. And my daughter, at the tender age of 12, actually flew the Cessna, which was vaguely terrifying for me, sat in the back seat. But then the next day, unfortunately without Amanda, but the next day the weather was suitable, so we went flying again, and we both went in a Tiger Moth. We had one each, and they did a little couple of minutes flying in formation together, which was truly magical. To be flying with my daughter, two aircraft like that, was, for me, it was quite emotional. It makes me emotional thinking about it. It was magical, and I truly hope that we might be able to repeat that experience on some level between us in the future. I know that funds are not in a place really nowadays where I could probably justify the expense. That was a fairly expensive weekend, as you can imagine. But I just think, imagine if I, at the age of 12, had an experience or an opportunity like that, how it may have impacted my life choices going forward from that point. And essentially that's why I did it, that's why I spent the money, was just to give her that opportunity. See where it goes, if anywhere. I've not yet flown in a Moth again, as I say. I really hope that I do get to do it again at some point. And what I would really like to do, actually, if I do it again, is have a longer flight. The typical experience flights from Duxford are sort of around about 20 minutes, which is fine, but you're not really up there long enough for the whole thing to sink in while you're doing it, if that makes sense. Your mind needs a little bit of time and space to remove itself from that excited place and kind of start to really register what's going on. But I'd like to have a longer flight and be able to fly one properly for a little while. I did on the second flight, on both flights I took the controls, but on the second flight I actually flew it rather than just sitting there with the stick in my hand, Yeah, that's something I'd definitely hope to be able to do in the next few years, potentially. So anyway, that's my Tiger Moth stories exhausted pretty much. I hope to be able to help Amanda with her aircraft. As an aircraft technician myself, I obviously have, it's a relatively rare skill set, and not one that Amanda has, and I'd love to be able to help her with it. It's difficult because Duxford, Cambridge, is sort of a 2+ hour drive from here, which makes it very inefficient with time and indeed travelling costs to go up there regularly. So this is it. This is real-time sprue shaving. You get the drift, I'm sure. I'm just going through this set of parts. This is, as you can figure out. This is all the main parts for the kit pretty much. All that remains on the sprues right now is this. I just run through denibbing them, taking off the mould seams, as you can see, like that. Like this little bit of mould seam slash flash down here. This little stuff like this, just clean it off. And you don't even need to test fit the part to know that that needs to come off. And then any extra cleanup that needs to be done after test fitting or during construction, it's just little bits of trimming and fitting. It's not, I'm not having to go through this process each time I pick up a part, and it's sort of, you spend a little bit of time and effort now and you save a little bit further down the road essentially. And I don't mind doing this. I wouldn't say I enjoy it per se. I find it calming. It's almost like mindless tasks, you know, a bit like peeling potatoes. You don't really need to give it your full attention, so it allows your mind to just settle where it wants, as you can probably tell by my rambling. But I think that's one of the beautiful things about modelling. Sometimes you can do it with half an eye on what you're doing and half an eye on the rest of the world going past you. I will normally, when I'm not filming, I tend to have something. I've got my iPad in the little stand in front of me here, and I will have something playing, documentaries and movies and what have you. And I'm not really watching them, I'm just listening to them. People say I should put podcasts on or audiobooks, and I agree in principle. The problem is that whatever's playing needs to be something that I'm not really interested in, because if I listen too carefully, or if I start to get too invested in whatever's playing on the iPad, I stop modelling and I start watching, and that's not the idea. It's just background noise. Okay, well, I'll stop this here and I'll finish these parts, and I'll have a quick look at the instructions and see where we're at, and I'll come back in a while. Right, that's the basic prep finished, and the first step in the instructions is drilling holes. So the instructions would have you drill various holes in the fuselage sides. These are actually for the control cables for the various tail feathers, mostly, I think they're. And the reason being, because the instructions, here you can see it in step 4, would have you thread whatever your rigging material is going to be into those areas before you even put the fuselage halves together, which isn't a terrible idea, but they are going to get on your nerves quite significantly during the build process and indeed during the painting process. However, that said, I am going to drill them out, and the same is true, flicking forward, of the wing parts. The holes for the rigging in this instance, which are quite easy to see. Notice them here, here, and this, actually, if you're adventurous enough, so the upper and lower wings, lower halves in both cases, are moulded full span, as you can see. You can see where the holes are want drilling if you choose to drill it, but if you really wanted to, you could build this model. You could have the wings fitted and you could rig it via these holes and then fit the other parts of the wings. I'm not going to do that, but I have seen it done. It's very flexible, this plastic. And it is an option if you're afraid of the rigging, if you feel like anchoring the rigging is going to be a bit difficult. That is an option. As I say, that's not what I'm going to do, but I am going to drill the holes out, because having a specific little point to put your thread to does make things a little bit easier. And yeah, showing the cabane strip rigging with just two little dimples and on the left half. Careful checks ensue. No both halves. Oh, I can just see them. Okay. So, drill. Pin vise, I should say. One of my cheap Amazon drill bit sets. I believe the smallest one is 0.3. It is. So I can just go around. And drill out those points. Because you're drilling from the inside out, you'll get a little crater on the top, but as you can see I just trimmed that off and it's fine. And we've got these two down here. Could be the aileron wires. No, I think they're the rudder ones, because the aileron ones go inside the wings, don't they? They sit inside that slot. So we'll just use the tip of the 15 to deburt. And the other thing you can do is just go back in from the front. Just to clear the holes. Now whether or not you choose to sort of pre-rig this before putting the fuselage halves together, these will give you solid locations in which you can post your little bits of rigging thread. I may pre-rig it, I may not, I don't know. I'll see how I feel when I get there. I probably won't, to be fair. Now there is an issue with this, of course. These holes are perpendicular to the fuselage side. The wires that come out of them are going at a very acute angle, and technically what you should do is drill the holes at that angle, because otherwise your rigging thread is going to come out and go like that, and sometimes the bend or the kink remains a little bit visible. Whether you want to go to that length or not is obviously a very personal choice, but it's difficult to do it because of the way these points have been partially drilled out or hollowed out from the moulding, and the hollows are bigger than 0.3, much bigger, more like 1 mil to be fair. They're quite big, so you kind of got to work with that. To get those angles, and 0.3 mil drill bits are really good at snapping, so see I'm kind of introducing it at an angle, making sure my finger isn't too close to the back of it, so I don't want to drill it. Of course on the real thing the control wires come through the fabric, and the fabric is considerably less thick than this plastic, There we go, we're through. If I show you the back of this, you'll be amazed at how far away that exit hole is from the start. There you go. I started it at this hole and it went that far. But that will give you a bit more of a realistic looking rigging wire. Just drill it at an acute angle. There you go, I've snapped it. That's the problem with 0.3mm drill bits, they're super fragile. But yeah, just drill it at as acute an angle as you can manage. And you'll end up with a nice little slightly elongated looking hole. But when you put your rigging thread in there, even if you put it in before building, it's naturally going to point the right way when it comes out. Okay, I'm going to find another drill bit set and another another drill bit, and I'm going to drill the rest of these holes out. All of them, wings as well. And that will be it for episode 1, because the very first thing I have to do is some painting and making of instrument panels and such like. So that'll be it for episode 1. I'll see you in a few days for episode 2. If anyone's building along with me, and indeed the rest of us doing this Advent build, feel free to keep us all updated by commenting on these videos or on the on my Facebook page, or pop across to Instagram if you use it, and use the hashtag AdventBuild2025, and you'll see all the posts from everybody that's involved with it. And you can just keep abreast with everyone's builds. So that's it from me for episode 1. I'll see you with a different snack in a few days for episode 2. So thank you so much for watching, and a huge thanks as ever to my channel members and my supporters on buymeacoffee.com. And with all of that said, it only remains for me to say until next time, look after yourselves, look after each other, and Genesis out.